Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look in this tutorial going over our injection mode options that we have in our Link G5 and G4X programming. It's important that we get our injection mode set up correctly based on how our injectors are wired and configured from the actual engine harness to the link. So we have a lot of different options. We're going to discuss the different options and what they mean. Most likely you're going to be running a sequential mode when you do set up your link with your engine as you're trying to control. Most engines are going to be a sequential injection, but again, there's a lot of options. I want to go through everything so it's very clear when you would choose what specific option. All right, let's jump in here. We're first going to find in our basics main page, we have our fuel main area here. Under fuel main, we have this area here, injection mode. We can see right now it's set to sequential. Again, most engines you'll be calibrating and tuning with a G5 or G4X will likely be a sequential style operation. What that means is the link can track the 720 degrees of engine's rotation and position, and then it can time the injection event based on knowing that 720 degrees sync. This means that you have either a crank trigger that allows the link to track that 720 degree movement, or you have a trigger and a home, so you have a crank trigger, wheel, and you have a home or cam position sensor that allows that 720 degree sync to happen. So let's jump in here and take a look at our options. So under injection mode, we can see we have a pretty long list. The very first option here, off. Off will simply turn off your fuel injectors. So for whatever reason, if you want to make sure your injectors are not spraying fuel, let's say you're testing some things under cranking, such as doing a compression check, you could unplug the injectors, or you virtually can go in here and just turn them off so you don't worry about fuel getting into the engine if you don't want the engine to fire off and run or potentially flood out. That's always an option. So off is something that we're obviously not going to choose in normal programming. The next option we have here is single point group. Now, single point group is a little bit unique. This would be if you have a carburetor EFI retrofit. So you're retaining some sort of a carburetor style intake going onto an older engine, and you have, let's say, 1 or 2 injectors that are feeding that engine with fuel. Now, typically the injectors are going to be mounted before the throttle blades, but sometimes they can also be mounted after the throttle blades. Doesn't really matter what position they're going to be in. If you are in a situation where you have an EFI retrofit to an older carburetor engine, having that 1 or 2 injectors, you'll use single point group. Now, if we go ahead and click this, click OK, we're going to find that we have active drives and injection rate per engine cycle. Active drives in our list here allows us to choose what injector drives or injector outputs are assigned to controlling the injectors you have in your system. Again, as I was mentioning, most of those carburetor retrofit style intake assemblies will have typically 2 injectors to feed, let's say, an old school V8 engine. You would use injector 1 and 2 outputs. This would assign 1 injector output to control 1 injector, and then the other output to control the other, using specifically the injector output number 1 and number 2 on your Link G5 or G4X. Now, we do have other options here. We have 1 through 4, 1 through 6, 1 through 8, all the way up to 1 through 16. So this assigns all of the injector outputs based on the specific box that you're controlling. So you may not even see these other injector output options right here. That's because I'm working with the G5 Voodoo Pro. So if you have a G4X, for example, you may only find that you have a total of 8 injector outputs. You might only have up here to injector 1 through 8. The software will only display the exact number of injector outputs you have based on the box that you're working with. So again, this is kind of an oddball option. I wanted to mention this because it is in here and it's something that you'll see in your drop-down menu. You also have in this option injection rate per engine cycle. What this is going to do is specify how frequently we're going to be firing each of these injectors within a 720 degree engine operation. So for example, if I have it set here to 1, we're going to be firing 1 of the injectors every 720 degrees. If we have a 2 here, it'll be every 360 degrees. And if we have a 4 here, it'll be firing each injector every 180 degrees. Typically, it's going to be either 1 or 2 in the injection rate per engine cycle option here. But again, that goes along with this single point group, something that we probably are not going to be faced with in calibrating and tuning. But again, we want to go over this. Let's go back into our menu here. We have a multi-point group. Let's click OK. And we're going to find in the multi-point group, things change a little bit. So in the multi-point selection here, we use this when the trigger can't support a sequential injection or that 720 degree of engine tracking. In this situation, we're going to be going in here and defining things. We have active drives and we have injection rate per engine cycle. So the multi-point group, if we go in, we're gonna have to select the same kind of things here. Let's assume we have an 8-cylinder engine and we're using the multi-point because we only have a crank trigger. We don't have a home or a cam sync that allows 720 degrees of engine position tracking from the link. We would choose injector 1 through 8. So again, this would be for an 8-cylinder engine.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here. And you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.